Hello everyone, welcome to today's story. The morning mist clung to the silent streets, where only the sound of rain tapping against window glass could be heard. In that stillness, Lytuna stood before her reflection, pale, tired, but unbroken. Once, her world had been full of trust and laughter, yet now, whispers and forged lies had turned that warmth into frost. On the table behind her lay a single piece of paper, a loan contract, stamped in red ink that had begun to fade. Once, it had terrified her. Today, it only looked empty. The faint scent of wet earth drifted through the cracked wooden door, brushing against her cheek like the ghost of something long forgiven. Outside, the clouds stirred, uncertain between rain and sunlight. So was her heart. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The truth is just beginning to unfold. The next morning, the world felt smaller, the sky heavy, the bus slow. Lytuna sat by the window, watching raindrops race each other down the glass. Each droplet carried a fragment of her memory. May's laughter, Alex's distant eyes, and the soft echo of promises that once felt unbreakable. She tightened her coat and whispered to herself, "Truth never needs to shout." Her destination was a narrow street where neon lights flickered even in daylight. The copy shop rumored to print fake seals. When she entered, a bell above the door chimed, breaking the monotony. A woman with tired eyes looked up. Lytuna placed the document on the counter, her hands trembling only slightly. "Do you remember who printed this?" she asked. The woman examined the page, lips pressing together. A girl from the city, white shirt, sunglasses, beautiful, confident, cold. She turned to a drawer and pulled out an old invoice. She signed her name here, May. Lytuna's chest tightened. The name glowed on the paper like an open wound. Her heart wanted to weep, but no tears came. Not this time. Only a chill that spread, steady and sharp, like winter air filling her lungs. When she left the shop, the rain had stopped. Puddles reflected broken skies, and somewhere a bird tried to sing against the wind. She walked toward the river, where she knew May would be. Same cafe, same table by the window. May looked up as Lytuna entered, her lips curving into that familiar, perfect smile. "You came," she said, stirring her coffee. Lytuna sat down opposite her. "I did, because lies don't end when we ignore them." The table between them was cold as stone. Lytuna laid down the invoice, the email printout, and a photograph from the shop's camera. "You forged these," she said quietly. "You made me doubt myself. You made others doubt me. But I'm done hiding." May's fingers froze around her cup. "You wouldn't dare! I don't dare!" Lytuna interrupted. "I choose." For a heartbeat, silence filled the air. Thick, electric. Then May looked away. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance, though no storm had yet begun. Lytuna stood. "You once said friendship was stronger than envy. I guess we were both wrong." She turned, walking toward the door, each step echoing like a decision made long ago. That night, the rain returned. Softer, almost sorrowful, like the world itself wanted to apologize. Alex stood beneath the eaves of his house, eyes fixed on the blurred reflections of streetlights in the puddles. Every drop that fell seemed to echo the weight of the truth he had ignored for too long. When Lytuna arrived, her coat still damp from the journey, he turned toward her with eyes full of guilt. "I know everything now," he murmured, voice breaking between remorse and relief. "I'm sorry, Lytuna. I never trusted you from the start." For a long moment, she said nothing. Only the rhythm of rain spoke between them. Then she lifted her gaze, her voice quiet but firm. I don't need your apology, Alex. I just need you to believe me. He nodded, stepping closer. I do, and I won't stay silent again. Tuna's eyes glistened, not with pain, but with release, the kind that comes when a wound finally stops bleeding. She whispered, I thought trust was fragile, but maybe it's what survives when everything else is gone. Their hands brushed, a small, trembling contact, yet heavier than any embrace. The rain around them softened, as if the night itself was listening. Days passed. News spread across the town, the forged seals, the falsified rumors, the investigation. The newspaper headline carried a single phrase, Truth Restored. For most, it was just another story. For Tuna, it was a quiet rebirth. That morning, sunlight poured through her window for the first time in weeks. On the table lay a new letter, not forged, not cruel, but real. Dear Ms. Tuna, due to your integrity and persistence, your loan has been cleared. Thank you. She read it twice, her fingertips tracing the ink as though it were a pulse. Then she smiled, not wide, but deep, from somewhere within the silence she had learned to live with. A knock sounded at the door. Alex stood there, a bouquet of roses trembling slightly in his hands. Are you okay? He asked. I'm better, she replied. Not just okay, better. He reached out, taking her hand, the flowers brushing against her sleeve. Good, because from now on, we don't have to prove anything to anyone. The morning breeze drifted through, moving the curtains. The light fell over their faces, two shadows merging into one reflection on the glass. Once, that same glass had held the image of a frightened girl. Now, it showed someone entirely different, gentle, yet unbreakable. Outside, the town awakened slowly. Children laughed somewhere in the distance. And through the sound of life returning, one truth settled quietly. Sometimes, the most beautiful revenge is not to make others fall, but to stand so strong that they must bow their heads. Tuna closed her eyes, letting the warmth of light seep into her. It wasn't triumph she felt. It was peace. And at that moment, everything changed. The days that followed were quieter, but silence no longer frightened Tuna. It felt different now, not empty, but alive, as if each quiet breath carried the rhythm of something beginning again. One evening, she sat by the window with a cup of tea, watching raindrops slip down the glass. The world outside shimmered in silver light. For the first time, she could look at the storm and feel calm. Behind her, Alex's soft footsteps approached. You're awake late again, he said, voice low. I like the sound of rain, she replied. It used to scare me. It sounded like endings. Now it sounds like cleansing. Alex smiled faintly, pulling a blanket over her shoulders. You've changed. Maybe I just remembered who I was before I was afraid, she answered. On the wall across the room, the letter from the bank was pinned neatly beside a photograph, the old picture of her and May, two girls laughing beneath a paper umbrella. Tuna's eyes lingered on it. I still can't hate her, she whispered. Alex followed her gaze. You don't have to. Hate keeps us tied to what hurt us. The next morning, Tuna decided to visit the old bridge at the edge of town, the place where she and May once sat to dream of their future. The air smelled of rain and pine, and the river below shimmered with ripples of sunlight. She stood there, the wind tugging gently at her coat, and closed her eyes. "I forgive you, May," she murmured into the wind. "Not because you deserve it, but because I do." The breeze carried her words away, scattering them into the forest beyond the river. When she returned home, the house was filled with soft light. Mrs. Min was already in the kitchen, her voice warm and motherly. "You're early today," she said. "Come, sit. I made soup." Lytuna smiled, sitting beside her. The aroma of broth and ginger filled the small room. For a while they ate in silence until Mrs. Min spoke, her tone gentle but sure. "You've become stronger, child. Not because life got easier, but because you learned not to run." Lytuna looked down at her bowl, the steam rising like faint clouds. "It's strange," she said softly. "I thought victory would feel louder, but it's just quiet." "That's how healing sounds," Mrs. Min replied. Later that night, Lytuna and Alex went for a walk under the newly cleared sky. The streets were glistening, every puddle reflecting pieces of the moon. "Do you ever wonder," she asked, "if truth and peace can exist together?" He nodded slowly. "Only when we stop fighting to be right and start living to be real." She smiled, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the lips but blooms somewhere deeper. They walked side by side, their shadows stretching long and tender across the cobblestones. As they neared the square, a soft drizzle began, not cold, just gentle. Lytuna lifted her face to the sky, letting the drops fall freely. The rain didn't sting anymore. It felt like a baptism of everything she had endured. The town lights shimmered through the mist. Somewhere behind closed windows, people spoke of her courage, her patience, her calm defiance. But Lytuna didn't need to hear it. The victory was inward, silent, whole. When they reached home, Alex took her hand, his thumb tracing the faint scars near her wrist. "You really aren't afraid anymore, are you?" he asked. She looked at him, steady, luminous. "No," she said. "Not of storms, not of silence, not even of starting again." And for the first time, she believed every word. Outside, dawn began to rise, pale gold spreading across the horizon. The rain stopped, leaving behind only the scent of wet earth and renewal. Morning arrived gently, draped in the quiet hum of life returning. The house smelled of warmth, wet wood, tea leaves, and the faint trace of roses that Alex had placed by the window. Lytuna stood there, bathed in the first sunlight. The rays touched her face like a blessing. For the first time in months, her reflection looked at peace. Outside, the world had already forgiven itself. The newspaper vendor whistled on the street. A child chased his red balloon, and the river that once mirrored sorrow now shimmered with light. Lytuna leaned her forehead against the glass, whispering to herself, "Sometimes, the hardest part of healing is accepting that it's over." Behind her, Alex walked in with 2 cups of coffee. "You're up early," he said softly. "I wanted to see the sun rise," she replied. "It feels different today, calmer, maybe truer." He nodded. "You've earned it." They sat together in silence, watching the day unfold. The curtain fluttered, and in that simple motion, everything that had once been broken seemed to mend, not perfectly, but honestly. On the table lay the old photograph, Lytuna and May, their laughter frozen in time. Lytuna took it in her hands. Her eyes softened. "I hope she finds peace too," she murmured. Alex reached for her hand. "She will. Everyone does, eventually, if they stop running from themselves." Tuna smiled faintly, setting the photograph down beside the letter from the bank. Two remnants of her past, one forged in deceit, one born of truth, now lying together like proof that even pain has its place in growth. The wind stirred outside, carrying the scent of new rain. Birds began to sing in the distance, and for a moment the world felt weightless, suspended between what had ended and what was yet to begin. She turned to Alex, her voice a whisper carried by light. "Maybe love doesn't end. It just changes shape." He smiled, answering not with words but with the quiet certainty of someone who finally understood. The camera lingered on her face, serene, luminous, unafraid. The scene faded into sunlight, spilling across the window pane, where once stood a frightened girl. Now there was only Tuna, gentle, steadfast, alive. And outside, the wind whispered what the story had always meant to say. Strength isn't loud. It's the silence that remains after the storm.
Giữa những lời đồn về giấy tờ giả được tạo ra bởi những người thân thiết, Tử Na, cô gái từng yêu mến, buộc phải đứng dậy. Cô không trả thù bằng oán hận mà đổi chuyện bằng sự thật. Cuộc hành trình tìm lại danh dự đưa cô đến quán cà phê ven sông, nơi May, người bạn cũ, cúi đầu trước những bằng chứng. Trong mưa, Tử Na không còn khóc, chỉ nói khẽ, "Tôi không sợ nữa." Alex trở lại mang theo niềm tin đã mất và cùng cô bước qua cơn bão của giới trá. Khi bình minh ló dạng, cô mỉm cười như ánh sáng trên cửa sổ vì hiểu rằng đôi khi chiến thắng đẹp nhất là học cách đứng vững bên thứ.